So, how y'all doing? Sugamonger. This is ZT452CF. It's a badass blade, right? There's a couple things about it that just right take it out of my lineup for EDC, right? This is a knife that I'm gonna carry just because I want to play with it, right? It's so sick. It's got an action from hell. This thing kicks itself out like a just really hardcore. It really has a great action. Feels good in the hand. It's so pretty looking. The major thing that attracted me to this, well, the first reason I bought it, honestly, is I just wanted to get a better experience with the ZT frame lock. I wanted to have a better, I don't know, a better idea with the titanium frame lock, and I'm a little bit upset actually that pretty much all companies that are producing titanium frame locks now are in putting these insert steel lock bar inserts in here. But with this one, with that said, you know what I mean, I would prefer titanium on steel. Look at the lockup. The lockup is almost perfect right now. I'm going to get into my problem with that here, but it's almost got a perfect lockup. It's remained consistent, just beautiful. I like the accent pivot. It's good looking. People complain about the billboarding on the ZT, and I will say it says a lot on that blade, but it only takes up a tiny bit of space. I love the fact that they put so much information in so small of an area on the blade. I actually really appreciate the billboarding on ZT, the way that they do that. The grind lines here I really like for an aesthetic view, right? The way that this blade's done, you can see that the grinder's finisher satin right there. But honestly, I think it fillets the blade open just a little bit. You can see right there along the edge. I don't know if you can make across. There's rust spotting. I've got some rust issues with this, and really, it's not. That's not from leaving it wet. That's just from leaving gunk on it. You know what I mean? Stuff from the bushes. And I've never had that problem with any of my other S35VN blades. I've never had that problem with any other blades. And I think what that is the material itself. These ridges. You hear that? It's very high in texture, right? So it gives a lot of area for gunk and debris and whatever to make its way into that little pieces of steel. So it is something you're probably going to want to keep clean. If you're a little bit worried about rust, I'm not really too worried about it. I love the stone wash that's on here. That's why I let it get crapped up. But if you are concerned about that rust, I'd keep it clean. You don't have to worry about the rust on the stone washing. That's really done excellently. The jimping on the back of the flipper right here works really well. But you can see it's kind of crapped up. It's got a whole lot of like skin and junk in it. But I mean, it works really, really well. And the way that I actually hold this thing is my ring finger here. My pinky will sit on the pocket clip. My ring finger sits right into that little cutout. And then I flip it open with my index finger. So it just works really well. My middle finger's just kind of floating off here, doing nothing in the middle of nowhere. But I've got a really secure purchase on this, and it fits my hand really, really well. It's full extension on my hand. It feels really good. I don't have to move. Yeah, it does feel good in the deployment. I don't have to move my hand a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of adjustment to actually get back into grip, get into a fighting purpose, which what I think this knife really does excel at. It has a little bit of a detraction as far as utility, really hard use. Again, I'll get into that in a moment. Feels excellent in the hand. There's basically no risk of slipping up onto the blade or losing it in a retracting motion. You can see it doesn't have a whole lot of a dog leg, but the way that this indentation here lies, it really does lock your hand in. Feels great in the hand. The titanium and carbon fiber mix again leads it to a little bit lighter use tasks, EDC tasks. It'd be fine, things like that. I really do think this knife just specializes as the defensive weapon. Really is what this thing is going to excel at. With the flipper itself, this is a light switch only flipper. It's actually it's kind of strange because you cannot push button this thing. Well, I can't. I cannot. You can see jamming my finger down there, right? I'm denting my finger. Jam it. It doesn't flip open. I'm giving some serious pressure there. But the moment I put my finger on top of the switch there, where that little bit of jimping is, thing flies open every time. Break that detent, bap, thing slaps itself open, and it comes out with some serious authority. I think that has to do with the fact that the detent is so heavy in itself. It's got a really, really positive detent. I got a funny story about that one, but Got a really positive detent, and the blade length is so long, most of the weight is out. It's not a very heavy blade. It's actually very, very light overall. The knife is light, and especially the blade for the length of it is very light. But the balance point on it, you know what I mean, the weight that's being pivoted around is still so far out that it just slaps itself open. Bap, you get past that pivot. And handing this knife to people, I've handed this knife to a couple people that really aren't familiar with flippers, right? And they've tried to open it like this. I've seen two people do this. Actually, I just got it. That's the first time I've been able to do that. You got to really try. I mean, that is not easy to do. Pulling that thing out there, I've watched a couple people like, how do you open it? Shit's funny. I just think that's hilarious to see people try to do. Yeah, back to the knife. The one thing, the major detraction that I find with this thing, okay, well, before I get into that, let's do a little bit of weight comparison, right? I want to do some weight comparison between overall just general blade length, similarity in blade length, the weight, right? Step up here. This is a 4.1 inch blade length. It weighs 4.6 ounces, right? The 452, okay? This is a Benchmade Crooked River. Crooked River has a 4 inch blade, and it weighs 5.4 ounces. So it's just about an ounce heavier, tiny bit shorter blade, right? Next one up, 810 Contigo, again from Benchmade. I'm a Benchmade fan. You guys didn't already know that one, right? It's got a it's a 3.9 inch, like 3.9 inch blade, so it's like an 8-inch blade. And I want to say 6.6 ounces on the 810 Contigo. So that one there, you know what I mean, it's a lot heavier, but very, again, comparable blade. This blade's actually a little bit shorter. It's 3.8 inches. And the weight on the 757 Vicker here, again, from Benchmade is 6.6. 6.6 ounces off the top of my head. Don't take any of these numbers by heart. It's all off the top of my head. But you can see what I'm saying. You're getting a whole lot of blade. You're getting a whole lot of that defensive use. You mean that fighting purpose, that a very aggressive tool for a very light weight. It's very easy to carry, and it's very unassuming, especially with this pocket clip, right? Because when you've got this thing in there, it's not exactly a very deep carry pocket clip just because of how it's orientated on the blade, but it's a very small pocket clip, right? It's very small, it's very unassuming, there's not a whole lot of knife sticking out of your pocket, and it's very thin in profile this way, right? So there's not a whole lot of knife exposed. It doesn't look like you're carrying, it's very an unassuming knife, right, when it's in your pocket. It's very easy to carry, just due to the fact that it's so lightweight and it is so thin in profile in every dimension. It is just very thin. It's very sleek. Carries in your pocket like a much lighter knife or a much smaller knife. You really, it is very nice to carry, but it is a little bit harder to actually retract out of your pocket. To pull itself out of your pocket's a little bit difficult. Now, the major negative I have with this knife is in actual hard use, right? Because I do a lot of trail clearing. I do a lot of hacking at branches and crap, getting crap off the trail. So I do a lot of hacking in this direction, right? Because you grab a hold of a branch, grab a hold of whatever it is and pull on it. And what I've found happens, right? Let me flip this thing open, right? Give it a full-on flip. I'll actually give it some wrist motion here to give it some serious pressure, right? Get that thing all the way out there. You can see where the lockup lies. Lockup is consistent. Those pieces of metal are flush. Perfect lockup. That's what I would call perfect lockup, right? Watch this one. You see that? And it jams up in there. That, again, perfect lockup. It goes back to perfect every time, but I can force that lock over, right? And what happens is when I'm using this, when I'm actually hitting any harder material, actually, it doesn't happen too much in a pushing grip, but whenever I have it in a strange grip, I'm holding like this, I'm pulling on material, I force that lock over, and I can actually feel it, right? When I'm holding it, I can feel that lock being forced over in my hand, and it's just not a pleasant thing. It's not a negative as far as security, because the more that lock gets jammed in there, the more pressure it has. It's not gonna fail. You know what I mean? So it's safer with this thing fully squeezed over like this. But I just don't like it. You know what I mean? This is an expensive knife. It's titanium and carbon fiber. It's got ball bearings, S35VN. You know what I mean? It's all nice. It's all sleek. I just don't like feeling that flex. I don't like feeling that play in the mechanism in my hand when I'm using it, you know? And that's not really a detraction on the knife because this is not a hard use knife. This knife was not designed to be cutting through bushes. This knife wasn't really designed to be doing those tasks. So me asking it to do it is kind of asking a lot, honestly. But I would just like a knife that I can ask to do those things and it will do it for me. You know what I mean? I would prefer that. So I mean, this isn't something that I'm going to be keeping in my lineup that I'm going to be carrying all of the time. It's not going into my favorites, but it's definitely cool. It's really nice. It's so much fun to play with. This thing flips just like crazy. I'll bring up my little problem child here. You guys are familiar with this one here. I mean, this thing flips. It's very easy. It's got a very soft detent. You know what I mean? So when you break that detent, the blade still flies open, but it just doesn't have that same pop, that same slam. It's almost like kicking open an automatic, you know? And it doesn't feel... I don't know. I actually prefer it over this because this mechanism is kind of floppy. It's like twitchy, right? This is a 650, right? 0650, another ZT. And it's kind of floppy, and it's due to the fact that, it's on bearings. The mechanism is a little bit looser, and the blade is 4 times heavier, right? So it's got so much more weight flapping around, but it just doesn't feel quite as nice as this, right? Because it's still so smooth. It's still got those bearings, but I can put it somewhere, and it stays there till I shake it, right? Get it past that detent. You know, it does have just an incredible overall feel. It's a whole lot of fun to play with. It's a great fondling knife and an excellent defensive tool, but I just don't think it's too good for the hard use tasks. Which is great because on the package it said "Go Bold." It didn't say hard use knife, which is kind of cool. Give you a size comparison. More common. Benchmade Griptilian, Spyderco Delica 4. Yeah. Sick shit. Think of it. Y'all have a good one.